something, because I'd like to think that this is a rather talented group. Please welcome up Jeff Chilson.
Thank you, Drew. This is an exciting day as we talk about conclusions. Our first speaker is going to be Trent. He's concluding what I like to call the decathlon of public speaking, which is the Competent Communicator Manual. It starts out with your icebreaker. You go through simple, basic, foundational steps in speaking. How you organize your thoughts, how you get your main point across to your audience. Then you start talking about how can I make my message clear in my audience, right for the ear, rather than just as you write on paper. Then how do you use your gestures, how you use vocal variety to make an impact with all of your words. And try and put all that together into these two last capstone projects, which are Story with Power, and today's speech, which he's been working on, which is Inspire Your Audience. Truly a challenging set of projects capped off with this last one. He's chosen a great topic here today, talking about something I'm sure we'll all get something from, because I'm certain we've heard the idea that leadership is influenced from John Maxwell. And if you want to influence people, you've got to be able to work together with people. So please welcome me as we cheer Brian on to complete Competent Communicator as he gives his keynote speech called Think Win-Win. Brian.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Welcome, guests. Think win-win. Seems simple enough, right? Nice fluffy term we can all relate to, maybe think we actually practice. I like win-win. I never like to see anyone lose, except maybe in a game of sandbag toss. None of you want to play me in sandbag toss. I've seen 4 in a row. So I like to see people lose in that situation. But outside of sports competition and games, what does win-win really mean? How can we apply that in our daily lives? So I want to dive deeper into that concept and challenge us all to think about what does it really mean to think win-win in your daily lives? Not just at work, but at home also. So I'm going to cover, well, I'd like to say the win-win is in Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People's habit number 4, and it's one of my particular favorites. And so what I'm going to present today is a little bit of a take on that. I've modified it a little bit, but the intent is there. So first I want to describe the various aspects of scenarios of human interaction. Secondly, I want to look at the character traits that help us to satisfy the win-win mentality. And lastly, how do we actually, in practice, enact the win-win philosophy? So first, looking at the scenarios of human interaction. And of course, first we have the common win-lose, which is I have to win. And if I'm going to win, unfortunately, you have to lose. And one of the things that I think we don't realize is just how much we are programmed that way early on. In school, we're all graded, well, for the most part, graded on a curve. People are always put in percentiles. You know, my child was in the 95th percentile, what's yours? You know, that kind of thing. We're all compared to each other. I find I do that all the time. I'm constantly comparing just my own 2 children. And you know, there's some dangers in that. That's just inherently, it is enforcing competition and not necessarily cooperation. To coin a phrase from a brilliant movie, Talladega Nights, if you ain't first, you're last. So true, right? So, and I think we see it here in business at Consumers Energy. Maybe in dealings with vendors, a lot of times there's a winner and there's a loser. Even in something that I've seen lately in battling for resources. Resources are limited, so you might be faced a little bit with that. So a lot of times someone does have to win. Unfortunately, someone has to lose. So that's the win-lose paradigm is all around us for sure. So you have the win-lose, and a little bit of a flip to that is the lose-win, and that's where someone is looking that, you know, to go down to take one for the team, perhaps. And I find myself as someone that likes to be liked and likes to please. A lot of times, I will find myself in the, you know, maybe you know, put myself back a little bit or take on more work just so you're happy, even though, in a sense, I'm losing. So I'm getting better at that for sure. But it's also a term maybe giving in. And I think a lot of us are often guilty of that. So that's the lose-win scenario. And then there's lose-lose, which we really don't have to get into much. It's pretty obvious. It's characterized by spite, vindictiveness. If I'm going to lose, you're losing too. And one story in Stephen Covey's book is he claims it's true. We don't know if it is, but a bitter divorce battle, and a husband was forced to sell all of his assets and give half to his ex-wife, and he sold a $20,000 car for $50 and gave her $25,000. Clearly, no winner in that scenario. So that leaves us with the last one, and that's the win-win, which obviously it sounds great, right? Can we all win? And a lot of times, there are certain scenarios where you can, but there's a lot of times where I think you don't necessarily go in thinking, how do we both win in this scenario? And in Stephen Covey's book, the twist is win-win or no deal when possible. So when you're going into a deal, a negotiation, or any type of issue or concern, look at it as, look, we both want it, we're both going to win, we're both going to come out better in this scenario, and if not, then we're going to agree to walk away with no deal. We're not, whatever it is, whether a business dealing or something, we're going to walk away, and we're not going to have an outcome to that, other than we're just going to mutually go our separate ways. And entering into a negotiation or anything with that in mind, it's powerful in that you can go in without your own agenda and being hell-bent on coming to a conclusion that it's okay if we can't work this out, we'll just move on. Not always possible, but at least attempt to go in with that in mind. So we've looked at the possible outcomes, the win-lose, lose-win, lose-lose, and of course win-win with the added twist of basically win-win or no deal. What are the three traits, or there are three traits that really can help with applying the win-win mentality that everyone would need to have going into it. And the first is pretty obvious and self-evident, and that's integrity. If you can't be trusted, there's really no point in trying to go for a win-win, right? It's disingenuous from the get-go. The second one, which I like, is maturity in the form of consideration and courage. Another way to put it is being empathetic and confident. You need to be empathetic in that looking at it from the other person's point of views and understanding, having some compassion for what their viewpoint might be, to help look at that and identify what's the win going to be to them. And the other is confidence, and that's to stick up for your own position, which is self-evident. If you know what's going to be a win for you, you've got to stick with it, stick to it. And the last one, and I really like this, and it's a little bit of a unique concept maybe, but it's termed the abundance mentality. And that's the mentality that there is enough to go around for all of us. There is, if you're in sales, you don't have to have a competition if someone's going to lose out. There's enough sales to go around. There's enough, whatever you are negotiating or going for, there's enough for everybody. And again, there's going to be certain scenarios where that maybe isn't true, but I think if we look at the flip side of that, which is termed the scarcity complex or mentality, and that's the feeling there's not enough to go around, and that can be as simple as recognition. Does someone feel like, well, if you're going to get recognition, then I'm not? Is there enough business for me to get, and you as well? And going in with that mindset, and I think here at Consumers, I've actually seen the scarcity mentality in the form of information hoarding. I'm sure if you have seen that here, right? And similar, where people have founded their self-worth on the amount of information they hold. That is a form of scarcity complex, and obviously not good for the win-win scenario. So we've looked at the types of human interactions and the traits, but then how do we actually apply this in our daily lives? And there's 5 general steps. And the first one we've covered, and that's put yourself in the other person's shoes. And that's I think, a mentality that a lot of people have in a lot of aspects of life. You can't truly understand where someone's coming from until you put yourself in their shoes. Second is identify the key concerns involved. What are the issues really at hand? And Thirdly, it's what outcomes will result in a win-win. Be upfront, put that right out there. You know, what can we do that is going to allow us to both walk away from this table feeling like we've got the win-win. Fourth is, look, are there new opportunities that this interaction provides? Is there something where we can synergistically go above, you know, not just find the base win-win, but is there something we're not thinking about here that could get us beyond? What's going to supply the motivation for us to satisfy this win-win? And lastly, and something I am actually going to employ at home with my children, and that is a performance agreement, preferably written, where you're laying out exactly what's agreed to. And this is key. And so you need to, you know, a lot of times, and especially at home, not so much at work, but we're driven by, you know, kind of a supervisor methods or mandates. You know, you do X or Y is going to happen to you, and I'm trying to get out of that at home with my kids. And instead of you shall do this or this will happen to you, it's all right. Let's sit down. Let's look at what do we both want. You know, you want a new fish. Well, you got it. You know, how are we going to get there? You know, and write it out. And to do that, you have to clearly identify the results, the guidelines, and the parameters that involved, and the accountability. At what points along the line are you going to check in and make sure things are happening appropriately? And for those of you that have had the project management classes here, that's a fundamental aspect of that. And you need to clearly identify the consequences, whether good or bad, preferably good to motivate, you know, whether it's financial, recognition, opportunity, or responsibility. So it's a quick overview of the win-win, but I just challenge you, if you in interactions at business and home, just think, how can we both come out of this feeling good? You know, we both walk away where someone's not feeling like they got the short end of the stick. So that's the challenge, and I'll see you next. Thank you very much.